Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
On the backside here at Churchill Downs on Derby Week, and joined now by the one and only John Bull, who's been covering Kentucky Derbies for as long as I've been alive. Yes, you are old. I do like, we're not, no more hair dye?
No, I cut all the little frosty tips out long ago.
It looks great. It looks sharp.
Yeah.
How are we feeling going into Derby Week?
Okay, so I felt good. I was on record, social media weeks ago. Fierceness can't lose, right?
Right.
And so I come up. I got a problem because I came up today. And I'm walking down the road because I want to see him in person.
Yep.
And I come up down the road, and there's this big, nasty, like headless horseman's horse, big towering thing right in my way, and it's Sierra Leone.
It's a good-looking horse.
So then I come, I'm like, well, that was weird. That was kind of a sign. And I come out and I watch them all go by, and Fierceness, as you've seen, is not that impressive looking.
Right.
None of them are. And then this big, nasty beast comes, brum, 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 and it's Sierra Leone, man. Like, don't you think? That's a big now. You can't always get duped into the big horse, right? Like,
so I can think of some big horses that Fusaishi Pegasus was the big horse.
Round one, yeah.
But Dortmund lost. Dortmund looked a lot better than American Pharoah.
Yep. Mr. Frisky back in the day, we all got duped into because he was this rippling, roided-looking horse, and he lost. Arazi was a tiny.
Really?
Arazi was a tiny little French horse.
Mystical and mythical.
I knew Arazi was going to lose the Derby. He had been injured, and no, Arazi was not big. So anyway, now I don't know what to do. I'm kind of conflicted about Sierra Leone, but until today, I was a big Fierceness, cold exacta guy. Fierceness over Catching Freedom.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to now do a wheel bet with Sierra Leone on top.
So that's my question, because I think a lot of people, like myself, if you look at the program, Fierceness's best is better than everybody else's. But if you want to hit a try, you got to find the guys underneath. So who are we looking at underneath? Maybe a long shot to bomb and hit the board.
The guys underneath, they're going to come running. Catching Freedom has really, really fast closing fractions, faster than Sierra Leone does, and is getting better every race. And if you look at Catching Freedom's last couple of races, Honor Marie is right there, like a length back of Catching Freedom. So if you like Catching Freedom, you got to like Honor Marie. So I like those two, and then Sierra Leone. Don't like the Japanese horse. Don't like Dornoch.
Yeah.
Here's another one for you. I think people are dismissing Stronghold. Stronghold's gritty, and while he hasn't raced against much, Stronghold is kind of gritty and always like 1-2 in all the races.
That's the thing about Stronghold is normally there's a ton of West Coast hype because it's a Baffert or a Doug O'Neill, and I feel like because we don't have those same connections, then we're just like, oh, it's the West Coast. They run 5 horse fields. He was in the Sunland Derby. That doesn't matter. But like when you keep hitting the board, I don't.
No, and his time is good. The final fractions theory has a subset of 9 horses. By the way, Sierra Leone's not one of them, which I thought thought that was interesting. So they're short fields. And by the way, you bring up the West Coast. Isn't it weird not having Baffert here?
Yeah, but I hate Bob Baffert. I'm anti Bob Baffert. Like I love to hate Baffert, and it's most.
Why do you hate him so bad?
Because he runs his horses in 5 horse fields. I'm supposed to respect that? Santa Anita's garbage.
He's won 6 derbies.
I know, and you know what? I do. Like, he's a great bad guy. So because he's the bad guy, I want to, and it's also because Authentic shouldn't have won that. Like, that wasn't a good horse. How did that horse win the Derby?
I have no idea.
And that's the part that annoys me is there's some years where he wins where I don't think he has that great of horses, and he still wins.
Yeah, but there's been so many times where he lost, like Triple Crowns where he should never have lost. That dude is, think about it. Real quiet, victory gun, Silver Charm.
See, and that's what I liked Bob Baffert. He was the young, spunky guy, and then over time, slowly just devolved. But here's part of it too, though. You're right. It is weird because I like having to cheer against him, and I like having to kind of be the one who's like, oh, that horse isn't any good, when his horses are usually pretty damn good.
So I don't know. I was never a Bob Baffert fan early on, but I really grew to like him because he was really honest about like bad beats, Yeah. And when he had a good horse and when he didn't, he was really funny talking about Mind That Bird. The year he lost, Pioneer of the Nile lost to Mind That Bird. I miss him, man. Put it to you this way: That is the most expensive tube of skin rash cream that has ever been purchased in the world, right? Think
Yeah.
about the cost to him and others of a skin rash cream.
One thing that I don't miss, though, is that we don't, like, that's going to be mentioned, I'm sure, by the NBC Sports crew on Derby Day.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad we don't have all the scratch talk and the HISA and because, I mean, how much did they really change? You know, like, I feel like horse racing, you go through these spurts.
Okay, they changed in one big way, and it's a big deal this week if you talk to these guys. You realize there's a team, they brought in 15 more vets from KHRC to overlook these horses in addition to Churchill's vets and the other vets. So like the trainers are all worried that someone's going to scratch their horse like they scratched Forte last year at the last second. Someone's going to be, this teams of people around your horse 24/7 are going to go, well, he's walking kind of funny today. You know, so anyway, in the terms of safety, that's immeasurably picked up.
That's good, but I do worry, like you said.
Yeah.
I worry for the horsemen, right? Because you build so much towards this, and it could just all fall apart at one moment. But right now, though, we're getting great weather on deck. There should be some great races. Have you looked at any of the undercards? Because I love the undercards. That doesn't get valued and talked about enough on Oaks and Derby Day. Have you started circling?
I have not. I've been so heavily into Oaks and Derby, especially Derby, because of all the hours we have to fill talking about that. But I always love, usually in the undercards, you've looked at them?
Oh, yeah.
Usually in the undercards are filled with the horses I bet last year that didn't win.
Exactly.
Okay.
Tappet Trice running for the first time since Derby last year. Zozos won on Derby Day. He'll be running this year.
Okay.
You do put in a lot of hours, Oaks and Derby. You're going to put a lot of hours in this year. So that's work. But what is the fun part about being out here?
Well, the fun part's right now. I dragged my butt out of bed and came down and got to see him in the morning, and that changes your perspective. And the fun part for me used to be when I'm finally done, and people are like, you must love to stay at the track and go up to the suites when you're finally off the air at 2:30. And I go, no. I say, I go home, I'm so sick of it by then, and watch NBC's fantastic coverage.
Right.
But now I have to stay and do the post show too. So my favorite part is just watching it all unfold. I like to be done with it.
Oh, that horse.
Is there one back here?
And went back to the barns, so that's not good.
Well, that's never good.
Went back to the barns.
Maybe if he runs by us, you can wrangle him, Nick.
You know what? I am a rodeo clown by trade. So, wow, this has been an eventful conversation with John Bolt.
Yeah.
So Sierra
basically
Leone.
what that means is that's a sign that everything I've said is incorrect and needs to be nullified.
It's never a dull moment here at Churchill Downs.
So I'm doing a fierceness wheel over the top of Catching Freedom, Anna Marie, Sierra Leone, and then I'm going to flip it and do a wheel of Sierra Leone over the same horses.
I think Just a Touch might be moving up too. Maybe sprinkle
Just a
at a
touch,
nice price.
Yeah, Just a Touch got potential to move forward.
Little sprinkles. We like little sprinkles here. You can win big on Kentucky Derby Saturday.
Yep.
John Bull, ladies and gentlemen.
You can bet the Run for the Roses with Naira Bets. Score big on the Kentucky Derby with a double dose of rewards. Sign up today for a $25 free bet and $200 deposit bonus with promo code KSR25. Join now and claim your $25 free bet and $200 deposit bonus at nairabets.com/KSR25. And here today to help us win some of those bets is a name you might have remembered from his time with the Louisville Cardinals. It's a great crossover here. Cats and cards were coming together for the best weekend in horse racing. It's David Levich. David, I appreciate you joining me, and I hope Kentucky fans don't hold it too much against you, your time at U of L.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't. My time at U of L was great. We only beat Kentucky one time, so they shouldn't be too upset at me.
Hey, and you still got plenty of hardware behind you to celebrate your career, but life after basketball, you've been hitting the paddock hard. You're known as the Paddock Prince. You're giving out tips all the time. So I thought there's no better person to ask than somebody who's grinding the programs at Churchill Downs every single day, not just for Derby Day, but all year round. And I'm curious when because I'm not a regular per se. I mean, I am, but I'm not. But is there anything about Churchill Downs specifically when you're looking at the races, maybe a trend or something like that that you might pay closer attention to than maybe say like a day at Keeneland, or if you're betting the Belmont Stakes Day or something like that?
Churchill Downs usually is a fair place track wise. If it rains, it can get kind of rail good. If you go back and look at a lot of the Derby winners, Mind That Bird, Always Dreaming. There was horses that didn't win that came up the rail that if it rains, which I don't know if it's supposed to, there's a little projection for rain. I don't really. The Churchill, for the most part, can be a very fair track on the main track and the turf. The turf can be a little quirky. Ever since they redid it a couple years ago, it's gotten a little goofy at times. Created a lot of long shots or, horses that win that never come back to run that same kind of race again. But, overall, it's usually a fair racetrack. I think speed's good on dirt always. I think you always want to be forward on dirt because you're not getting mud kicked in your face. So I think when you're looking at the races this weekend, I think you want to, handicap like the track is going to be fair. And if it rains, maybe look for some horses that are going to be even more towards the leader on the rail.
Okay, I like that. We're obviously going to spend a lot of time talking Derby, but I want to start with the Oaks because just looking at the past performances, like there's a lot of front running quality speed horses in here. Does that maybe lend itself to a closer if that speed gets out of hand, or do you think the horses up front are good enough to take it to the wire?
Yeah, the Oaks is a very interesting race this year. Usually when you come to the Oaks, there's one or two fillies that really stand out. There's like 5 or 6 fillies in this race that, on their best day, they can all be right there. It's not really to where the Derby, which we'll talk about, has one horse that really stands out. The Oaks, you have Torpedo, you have Ways and Means, you have Leslie's Road, Jeff's FYI. There's a lot of fillies in there, and I'm forgetting one because there's so many good ones. And Tarifa, I think Tarifa, the favorite, is going to be the favorite for Brad Cox, but I think this year's race is really interesting because, well, one, Just FYI won the Breeders' Cup. She has speed, but she drew all the way out in post 13. She ran a good race in the Ashland off the layoff. That was her first time since the Breeders' Cup. So she's coming in second off the bench. The horse that beat her, Leslie's Rose, is one more out, 14 all the way to the outside. So it kind of creates a little bit of a handicapping puzzle to figure out what kind of these good horses, the ones that are supposed to take all the money, what kind of trip's going to play out for them. I do see the pace being kind of hot, so that kind of lends me to a horse like Leslie's Rose or Torpedo Anna. But we'll see what happens. But I think this year's Oaks, it's got to be as good as an Oaks as I can remember as of late.
Yeah, the one that had Gamine and Swiss Skydiver and She Dares the Devil.
That was the COVID year, I think, wasn't it? Wasn't that the COVID?
Yeah. That was my biggest hit ever. Was She Dares the Devil brought home the pick 5 for me. So it was almost like the gambling gods were saying you can't be there, but we're gonna throw you a bone here. Do you have which one of those is your favorite Oaks horse of the bunch?
Ooh.
Do you have one? Because I know that it's tough to narrow down.
Are you talking? You're talking about this year, right?
Correct.
I think Leslie's Rose is the horse to beat. Her post is not good, but if you look at the Oaks last year, pretty mischievous won from post 14. So it's obviously can be done. It's just she does have the best rider in the country, most say, and I ride Ortiz. So he's going to have to work out a trip. If you forced me to make a pick at the moment, I think I would take her just based on her last race was very good. And she's had 4 races, and 3 out of her 4 races have been good. The race she lost, she kind of got stuck behind a slow pace. So I think she's probably the best horse. I know Kenny McPete is very high on his horse, Torpedo Anna. She also has a better post than most of her main rivals. She has post 5, so she's going to be able to get to the rail, kind of make that one closing run. So right now, that's probably where I lean. I think Just FYI is the wild card in the race. She's running second off the bench, ran a huge race in the Ashland for not having run since running in November. So I think she's probably the wild card in here. If she comes back with her best effort, she's going to be right there too. But I'd probably lean Leslie's Rose right now.
Okay. And if you want, we're not going to make David give up all of his tips, but where can they find all of your picks this week? And I know you've got tip sheets for every single day that they're racing at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, you just go to Horse Racing Nation, go to Paddock Prince. If you go under expert picks, you'll see I'm the first person listed just under Paddock Prince. You just click on there. I have Churchill Downs obviously all week, but like you said, I do all year round with horse racing. I already posted my Oak sheet. Don't think I'll make any changes unless the weather really plays a factor. So if you go on horseracing.nation.com under expert picks, you'll find me there.
I'm a big fan. Whenever that's all right, I don't have enough time to look at the program. Let's see what Levich has got cooked up for us. On Derby Day, there's so many stakes races, so many to play. And I feel like I've got a good read on some of them, but I'm just struggling to get a good read on the Derby, because Fierceness at his best is clearly the best. But is he going to be the horse we saw at the Florida Derby? Is he going to be the horse we saw at the Holy Bull?
I think if you looked at this race, and people always say you're supposed to handicap the Derby like it's a race on a Thursday, and I think that is a good logic to have, because if you took this race at face value and it was just a regular race on a Thursday, he is 100% the horse to beat. He has the best figures, whatever you use, buyers, rags, time form, whatever you use, he's by far the best horse. Now, he is a little quirky, like you said. I don't think it's that he doesn't show up. I just think the break is what matters to him. He doesn't need the lead, but the 2 races he ran bad. He stumbled in the Champagne, didn't recover. And then in the Holy Bull, he just kind of got slammed. And he just doesn't really get a good rhythm, but he doesn't need the lead. In the Breeders' Cup, he rated, so he can sit all forces. I just think it really depends if he can break or not. If he can break well, and thank God he's at a post 17 for other people that are obsessed with that weird irrelevant stat that post 17 has never won before. Now he's in post 16 technically with the 17 saddlecloth. So I think it's 100% his race to lose. Even his not best race would still probably win this race. That's how much better his 2 races are in the Breeders' Cup and the Florida Derby are than these horses. But he is a little kind of, you're going to know about probably 100 yards into the race if he's going to win or have a real chance to run. It's not going to be like one of those things where he broke okay, he's going to make up ground. We'll see. It's like you're going to know 100 yards in.
Well, and there's part of me too that wondered, is there a scenario where, where maybe Dornoch does break clean and flies out front and is the White Rabbit. And I mean, there's always a hot pace in the Derby, but I do wonder if, maybe it's Dornoch, maybe it's Track Phantom that gets out ahead of him. What closer do you, because there are really good closers in this race. Is there one in particular that stands out to you as the best to potentially come in and take advantage of that extra 1/8 of a mile?
I'm looking at the Fairgrounds Louisiana Derby. I like those 2 horses, Honor Marie and Catching Freedom. I know everybody loves Sierra Leone, and I get it. He's a really talented horse, but he is going to be so far back, and he's in post 2. He is going to have to, he's also a horse. I don't know if you remember last year, Tapitrice, a horse that had to get in the clear to make his run, and it took him a while to get going. This horse is very similar. I think he might be a little more talented than him, but I don't know. I don't trust a horse like Sierra Leone in the Derby, because he's going to have to get a pace collapse, and he's going to have to get in the clear. He's going to have to make a wide run. He's going to have to pass at least 15 or 16 horses, probably tiring in front of him. So he's a horse that I get can win. But for the closers, I'm leaning towards the 2 horses out of the Louisiana Derby. I think Honor Marie is going to run a huge race. He's got to win over the track. He's by Arrowgate, so he's not going to have any issues with the distance. And then Catching Freedom, I think, is the he'll probably be the 3rd or probably the 4th choice behind the Japanese horse, who I don't really like. So I think closer-wise, I think Catching Freedom and Honor Marie are the 2 horses I'm going to use underneath in my exotics. And then I think Just a Touch is the wild card in this race. He's only run 3 times, but he ran very well in the Bluegrass. He made the first move into a hot pace, so I'm a little interested in him as well.
Is Just a Touch your favorite sort of long shot to play underneath?
Yeah, because I just think Derby, I like playing horses that are forward. I know the pace has been absolutely blistering the last couple of years. I don't really see that happening this year. I know Dornoch might go out there, but I just don't see it being that. I don't see a Japanese horse that's year that's going to go out there and make him go 45. And Kings Barnes last year was absolutely flying. I don't see a horse. It is the Derby, so crazy things can happen. Horses get amped up, but I don't see a pace scenario to where Just a Touch doesn't get that perfect stalking trip in like 3rd or 4th, right near the lead, and he makes that first move turning for home. And if a horse like Fierceness backs up, he could be the one that gets first call on the leaders.
Well, we appreciate the insight here at KSR, even if you are a card. Before I let you go, David Levich, the Paddock Prince over at Horse Racing Nations, where you can find all of his tip sheets year-round at Churchill Downs and other tracks elsewhere. Is there the undercard? I think I counted 8 stakes race on Saturday and 7 on Friday. Is there any one horse in a race that really jumps out to you?
Yes, race 6 and 7 on Derby Day. I'm gonna play a big double. The outside horse Vava is Irad Ortiz and Cherie DeVoe. I think it's the 10 horse in the is it the Humana Distaff or whatever that race
Yeah,
is.
the Derby City Distaff.
Derby,
Yeah, I had that one written down too. Yeah,
yeah,
Vava.
I like her, and then I'm playing Chad Brown's Euro import in race 7. Copus. Frankie Dettori's riding. It's a first time U.S. horse for Juddmont. I think it's the 7, maybe 10, 7. I think
Okay.
something like that. But yeah, I'm gonna play. Those are my 2 plays on Derby, not counting the Derbies back to back. So after race 7, I know Derby's a long day. I'll know how my bankroll's going after about race 7.
Love it. Well, hopefully we're all cashing tickets, winning big on Kentucky Derby Saturday.
Good luck.